Hey, what's going on, everybody? Happy Hump Day. Welcome to another edition of Mean Streets powered by FTN. You're watching right here on Game Plus Network, potentially on our FTN YouTube page live. If you are, smash the like button. You have any comments, any questions, by all means, leave them there. We'll get to them throughout the show. If not, I always circle back before tip-off in the NBA, first pitch, main slate in Major League Baseball, and also puck drop in the NHL. We're going to talk a little golf on this show. I didn't lie to you yesterday. We're going to talk Wells Fargo. We got some picks, maybe some DraftKings stuff. Alex Blickle is in here. He is the co-host of Bogey Free. All kinds of great content over at FTNBets.com and FTNDaily.com when it comes to PGA. Also, Alex covers baseball and he covers football. So we're going to talk a little Philadelphia Eagles with Alex. Of course, that's right up my alley. Going to get his thoughts on the A.J. Brown edition, as well as some of the other draft picks that the Eagles, some players that they selected over the weekend. I thought they had a pretty good draft. I really did. I thought, they traded up. I think they took care of some needs. I still think there are some needs on the squad for sure. Like maybe another corner, maybe some defensive backs, some help in the secondary, I think. Not going to get Honey Badger. We talked about that yesterday, now a member of the New Orleans Saints. But we'll touch on the Eagles, get Alex's thoughts, maybe on the 76ers as well. The 76ers are in action today, looking to even up their series with the Miami Heat. Also, the Dallas Mavericks in action this evening, looking to even their series up with the Phoenix Suns. We have some NBA props and some picks towards the end of the show. We have a free NBA bet for you. And just a friendly reminder, ftnbets.com/newsletter/free. Like, I'm pretty sure it's /newsletter. I don't know if George can help me out here. We'll get it to you in the next block. But you can sign up for free picks. You're going to get a free pick every single day. Some tools, content, articles. I always say if you're looking to be part of the FTN fam, it's a lot to offer with all the packages. Alex is given not just golf picks, some baseball picks. And of course, when the NFL season does get underway, but you get all the picks from everybody across all the sports. And you also, I see some people hanging out in the chat, and I love it. We'll get to some hockey stuff in a little bit. Am the artist with us, but FTNBets.com. Use the promo code MeanStreets, Meaney, NHL. Save yourself a bit of cash, and you'll have access to all the picks. But we do have a free NBA one. There it is. George, look at this guy on the fly. I think I was right the first time. FTNBets.com/newsletter. Nice. Giddy up. I like it. So those two NBA teams in Philadelphia and Dallas looking to even up the series. We have 4 game twos here this evening in the NHL. The Bruins looking to even up their series with Carolina. Easy for me to say. Actually like Boston here tonight as road dogs. I think they get it done. We have Tampa against Toronto. We have Minnesota against St. Louis. And we have the Edmonton Oilers against LA. I think we'll see 3 of the 4 even up the series here tonight. We'll break down all of that, all those games, dive into it from a fantasy standpoint, a DFS standpoint, and I do have some shot props and some point props, as well as a couple picks when it comes to the NHL. We won't really touch on Major League Baseball just really now here, kind of off the top of the show, but it's going to be a lot of golf, a little bit of NFL sprinkled in, some NHL, and some NBA as well. So take a look at the 3 stars from last night around Major League Baseball. You see Bobby Witt Jr. in there, 2 for 3, a home run. That was Bobby's first home run of the season. It's been a slow start for some of these rookies here. We talk a lot about Pena for the Astros being actually, probably one of the best. C.S. Suzuki's been the best, I suppose, but he's a grizzled vet. He's coming in here like mid-20s. He's not like a real true rookie, but Bobby Witt has picked it up a little bit. He's got hits now in 8 straight games. Multi-hit showing yesterday for him. Had a home run and 2 RBIs. So he's hitting 238 on the season. He does have 4 stolen bases, so he's providing a little bit of speed for you. The power will come. He's going to have a heck of a season. He'll be there at the end of the day when it comes to, just rookies. I think he'll be certainly a candidate in the American League. Josh Bell has had a really good season for Washington, a really good start. Last year was a slow start to his season, but, last year towards the end of the season, he certainly picked it up. Batting at Coors Field certainly does help, but 3 for 5 yesterday, had 3 runs, had 3 RBIs. He was 4 for 6 just the other day against the Giants. He's hitting a cool 366 on the season with 3 bombs and 18 RBIs. The Washington Nationals are, it's going to be a long season for them. They've got 3 wins in their last 4. The offense has been okay, right? Soto's not doing a whole lot, not being able to drive in a lot offensively, but it is going to be a long year for the Washington Nationals, but it hasn't been as bad as what I thought. And then the other star of the night is Alek Manoah. The Jays didn't get the win yesterday. We were okay with some of our baseball picks. We did get, we got lucky with the Rays coming back last night against the Oakland Athletics. We did get the Chicago White Sox, and we had Tim Anderson over 1.5 total bases. He went yard yesterday. And I think we got lucky there too, because I really liked the matchup against Drew Smyly for the Cubs, the lefty pitcher who got scratched. But nonetheless, we did have an okay day. We talked about Alek Manoah over 6.5 strikeouts at plus money, and he just got there. So 6 innings, 7K, 3 hits, and 1 earned run against the Yankees. So now that's 4 starts in his short big league career for Alek Manoah against the Pinstripes. 4 starts, 4 earned runs. His strikeouts 7, 9, 7, and 7. He's been fantastic here to start the season, and he's been really good against the Yankees, and I'm sure Jays fans absolutely love that. Anytime that you have a young pitcher with his upside going against a powerful Yankees lineup just twice this season and twice before this season and showing up in a big way. He's looked pretty good. Keep an eye on his strikeout props moving forward. Command issues a little bit as a young pitcher. They're still there. And the strikeout upside is completely there. I really like what he has to offer. I think he's the Jays' second best pitcher. Gausman has been fantastic this season. Berrios will come around, but I think Alek Manoah has an extremely high ceiling. Before we bring in Alex, I want to give some love to Jeff Ratcliffe in the Fantasy Football Rookie Scouting Guide. It is live here, the post-draft update for the 2022 Fantasy Rookie Scouting Guide. Updated rankings, post-draft player fantasy outlooks, draft pick trade value chart. Got a draft board for QB1 and Superflex leagues. Just one quarterback, so you can get it now over at ftnfantasy.com. Over 150 player profiles, the stats, overall rankings, as I mentioned, Superflex rankings. He's got player comps for all the rookies as well. You can check that out over at ftnfantasy.com. And if you are looking to get a package, a season-long package, we did give a couple away last week and during the NFL Draft Show, which was live on Thursday and Friday. You can go back and watch it if you want to, just instant analysis, mostly for myself and Josh Larkey. We did have Jeff step in with us, and we had Jill Gallant there for a little bit. Benny Ricciardi was live at MetLife Stadium, and of course we had Jake Seeley pop in a few times. Eric Young made an appearance as well. It was fun. It was a fun time. A great turnout. I was pleased with how it went, but Jeff does have that scouting guide updated, and his rankings are live at ftnfantasy.com, and mine will be there, I think, this evening, but most likely tomorrow morning. Gonna watch some hockey tonight. Well, sit back, watch some hockey, watch the Mavs, maybe watch Blickle's 76ers, but certainly gonna watch some hockey and import the rookie rankings and redraft as well as dynasty rankings. Football never stops, and I feel like it's officially here, even though we have a long way to go before the NFL season does start. I know that the NFL released their schedule for games overseas. I think there are 3 in London, a couple at White Lane where the Tottenham Hotspurs play. I don't remember the matchups offhand. I don't think it really matters. We'll get into it a little bit later on in the offseason. But Alex is in here next. We're going to start talking Wells Fargo. Speaking of the Philly area, we will talk some Philly football and maybe some 76ers with Alex. Keep it locked. Welcome back into Mean Streets live on Game Plus Network. Chris Meaney as we bring in Alex Blickle. Alex Blickle 1 on the Twitter machine. And Alex, you good? You having maybe issues hearing me? Yeah? No? Can't hear me?
Can't hear anything.
Can't hear me. No, you can't hear anything. Man, you're so good at golf analysis. You don't even need to hear me. You just like let her buck and let you go. But we'll try to figure this out. You may need to pop back. You may need to pop out and then pop back in. Maybe just refresh some of the settings. It's no good for me to tell him that because he can't hear me. But potentially we can get George maybe to help him out there. But I did get a buddy who texted me. He's like, Wells Fargo. That's not in Philadelphia. It's in Charlotte. I do know that. And I appreciate the text. And I appreciate you hanging out with us live here on Mean Streets and Game Plus Network. But Wells Fargo makes me think of where the 76ers play and also where the Philadelphia Flyers do play. So we'll hang on for Alex. We do need him to give the hot, fresh golf takes. No question about it. Rory is there, so I'm liking to hear what he has to say about Rory. And we'll talk about some of those other golf players as well. But, I mean, I could maybe just... there are some technical difficulties here today. Am the artist, bear with us. He is with us saying the Panthers are fraud. I could get into some hockey talk with you guys right now, and we can just kind of roll through the hockey and wait for Alex to maybe get right on his end. But let's do that. Let's do that, George. Let's talk through some of this hockey. Alex is having some technical difficulties getting back in here. So we'll roll through some of the hockey if you want to go there, George, and we could maybe we can get in there and talk some golf in a little bit. But for me, tonight, it's I want to start with the Boston Bruins and the Carolina Hurricanes. So this series, a lot tighter. The game one, I think, was a lot tighter than what the score indicated. Certainly, you see 5-1. A couple of those goals late. I thought the Bruins were really good to start the game. And what I said before this series started is these two teams are very, very similar. Very similar at 5-on-5. Their special teams are both strong. They don't give up a whole lot. The puck possession is near the top of the league for both of these squads. They're really strong in terms of 5-on-5. And Antti Ranta, I thought, stole the show early on. I like the Bruins still to win this series. It was a really tough series for me to call, but I think overall the experience will be the deciding factor. And I'm not going to lie, I was a little taken back by the Frederik Andersen, his day-to-day, not going to play here again tonight, not sure his status moving forward. Linus Ullmark's been really good for the Bruins down the stretch. Maybe there's a goal or two he'd like to have back in, from game one. But I still, I think he's going to be the goalie in this series. And there are a lot of Bruins that kind of check some boxes for me. Like David Pastrnak we'll get into a little bit. He had 10 shot attempts in that game. I think we'll have some puck luck from him here tonight. But ultimately, my favorite play probably in this series is the under. I think, overall, I think Alex is kind of close here. He says to me we have some movement, but I think the play is really the under. Now, the Bruins have been, overall, in the 3 games in the regular season, they got outscored 16-1. They only found 1 goal in those 3 games, and just the 1 goal here so far in that 1 game in the playoffs. So that just a couple goals for the Boston Bruins. But looking back overall at some of the games and taking a look at some of the 5-on-5 numbers, pretty even. There was a couple games where I thought the Bruins outplayed Carolina and, they lost 6-0, right? Not a great start. There was one game they gave up 4 or 5 goals in the first period, but ultimately I like this Bruins team to bounce back here today. I like the experience on the squad. This is a team that's certainly been there before. And I really like the way that they played in Carolina. It's certainly a tough place to play. I don't think we'll get Alex here, maybe a little bit later, but we'll still continue rolling through some of the hockey. I do have some shot props for you guys in this game, but there's a couple that really stand out if you're going to play some DFS, like Tony DeAngelo. We didn't get his over 2.5 in the bet trackers at plus 145, and no problem really going back to that. It's not one of the plays that I'm going to lock in with you a little bit later on in the show, but 7 shot attempts for Tony DeAngelo at all strengths. Svechnikov, Niederreiter, Aho, all had 6 shot attempts as well. Niederreiter's a sneaky little player. He seems to show up at this time of the year as well with the playoffs. He gets some top power play time here and there. Sometimes Rod Brendamore will bump him up on that top line and play with Aho or Teuvo Teravainen. I know Seth Jarvis was playing most of that game one on that top line, and he did find a way to get a goal. But yeah, AM the Artist does check in here. He says, "Stop going against my Canes. We're up 22-1. I didn't know that you were a Canes guy, dude. I did not know that. Canes future in the bet tracker at 12-1. We got in that early. We do really like the Carolina Hurricanes here, but going for the sweep. Don't listen to me. The Canes are going for the sweep. I don't know, man. I think this series will go the distance. I think it's going to go at least 6. Boston's not an easy place to play by all means either. I do believe that the Bruins will bounce back here today. I like them at plus money. But ultimately, what I was going to say is the under. I think, the under is the play with both teams being pretty stingy. Alex does look like he's good to go and he can hear us. So I'll pause the hockey talk for now. We'll take another break and we'll bring in Alex and we'll get back to the golf. And I'll get back to maybe getting under Am the Artist's skin when it comes to the Boston Bruins. But David Pastrnak, 10 shot attempts over 20 minutes of ice time, had 5 shots, led all Bruins skaters in shots. In fact, led everybody in game 1 in shots. This guy's having a big night tonight. Aho or Patrice is his pick for what? Shots or goals? I think they're both in play for shots for sure. All right, quick break and we'll bring in Alex. We'll talk. We'll actually get into some golf. Keep her locked. Welcome back in. Alex Blickle 1 on the Twitter machine. Sounds like you can hear me and looking like it. You're like, yeah, here we go. Giddy up. We are ready to go. Nothing like live television, dude. It's all good. We go through the highs and the lows. Apparently, we have a lot of technical difficulties, according to Am the Artist. I don't know, dude. I think you're being a little hard on me here this morning. I think we're pretty good, but we do appreciate you guys hanging through this, and let's get into it. Alex, you are the co-host, of course, of Bogey Free. Actually, before we get into some of your picks and the leaderboard and all that, what were some of the topics that you and Brian DeCourty were discussing? Maybe it's like course fit. What were some of the key statistics and things that you're looking for here this weekend?
Yes, we talked a lot about this course, TPC Potomac, and specifically like how it's going to play differently than it would have played at Quail Hollow, the normal host for this event. They changed it this year because Quail Hollow is going to be hosting the President's Cup. And George backstage is going to hate to hear this, but Quail Hollow is a perfect golf course for Rory McIlroy. TPC Potomac, not so much. The biggest thing about Quail Hollow is it emphasizes off the tee play more than any other course. I believe it was actually over 50% in my course fit model, which is sort of unheard of for driving. And both distance and driving accuracy were both over 25%. So it's a driver's paradise And now TPC Potomac, not so much. The driving accuracy component is still extremely predictive, slightly over 30%, but we don't get anywhere near as much emphasis on driving distance. And then the other unfortunate thing for Rory is he's got a world-class short game, which a lot of people don't quite realize. And TPC Potomac, unfortunately, just really doesn't reward that at all, with around the green play being basically totally unpredictable. So it's unfortunate for Rory and therefore unfortunate for George, but there are obviously a bunch of guys who are going to benefit from that.
I don't know what. I guess I kind of do know. I think I've had conversations with George before, but his obsession here with Rory, like the dude loves Rory Potomac into the sun, fired into the sun. Yeah, I get it. Okay, so let's take a look at the top of the leaderboard and just, in terms of betting odds, this is from DraftKings here. Of course, he had to highlight Rory, plus 850 there. And then there's a big gap between number 1 and number 2, and Corey Connors at 16-1. You got Henley there at 20-1, Fitzpatrick, Leishman, Hatton, Finau in there, also highlighted at 25-1, Power, Keegan Bradley. Anytime I see Keegan Bradley inside the top 10, I always know that it's not a star-studded field. No shots fired at Keegan Bradley. Sometimes he just comes out of nowhere, Alex. It's like, wow, Keegan. I remember when he first popped onto the scene, I thought he was going to be like a really good golfer. I mean, I was fooled. It's like when he first came on, like he was always hanging around on Sundays. It's like, wow, this guy seems to be, on the rise. And then he, I was completely wrong, but he is on the top of the board here. What do you make of, I guess, like I said, the field is pretty weak, but what do you make of the names that you just saw there on that list?
Yeah, I think there are a couple that stand out to me, and it's interesting those odds that were just up are far worse than some of the numbers that I think you can get elsewhere. And I think that's sort of a theme we've seen all season is that perhaps more than any other sport, and particularly in the outright market, the difference from one sports book to the next is enormous in PGA. Yeah. And you can find some really great numbers on some guys somewhere where like virtually every other book has him significantly lower. Like this week, it's Lonto Griffin, who I got at 150-1 on DraftKings, which I think is a phenomenal number. And he was like no better than 90 anywhere else. Wow. And from that, the top of the board there, like the two names that I had interest in were Russell Henley and Terrell Hatton, but I had interest in those guys at 34-1 or 35-1, not 20. So it's as pictured here from DraftKings Sportsbook, I'm not really interested in anybody. And I think that what we're seeing here is this trend where it's almost like DraftKings is either making their own lines and pricing the expensive guys way up and then the cheap guys way down, or I think what's even more likely is that sort of early in the week they've been a little softer up top, and then they sort of change it midweek, because this is at least the second time within the last month that I can remember not liking many lines from DraftKings Sportsbook early and then loving them as we get into the week, particularly on the longer guys, while the top of the market gets pretty unattractive.
Yeah, I'm seeing Henley at 35-1 over at Caesars. That's a number I think you can get behind. What a significant difference. I mean, we always say on this show, the prop shop, and of course, those are tools that you use when you guys are putting your bets in the bet tracker, right? Shop around. We got access to the Discord channel. We tell guys, hey, jump over at Caesars, not on DraftKings. George, maybe we have to step away from DK for a little bit. I always find Caesars is soft across all sports. I usually find like from an NHL standpoint, from an NBA prop standpoint, I feel like there's the lines are a little bit more favorable in a direction that I like. So I'm seeing, 35-1 to 20-1 is pretty significant. And who did you say? Griffin before that? Yeah, 150-1. I'm still seeing. That's over at DraftKings still. But you're right. Wow. Like BetMGM has him at 66, Caesars at 80. FanDuel's got him at 90, and then PointsBet has him at 90 as well, and then DK 151. So not bad DK over there for Griffin, but not so much for Henley. What do you like about Henley's game here?
Everything, honestly. I mean, he's just a really good all-around player. And one of the more interesting things that I did this week was I sort of updated the way that I model golf, where I've been tracking the stats from every single event so far this season, and finally felt like I had the sample size to really dive into finding the perfect blend of long-term form and recent form for each individual strokes gained category. And like one of the big findings was that the recent form matters far more for strokes gained driving accuracy, which is a proprietary metric that we have, than any other aspect of golf. And basically what that says is driving accuracy stabilizes significantly faster than everything else. And so you should be weighing driving accuracy more in the recent form than you weigh recent form for any other category. For example, putting and driving distance, the recent form was completely useless. You got to go back to the last 50 rounds before you get real signal there. And from this modeling process, Russell Henley was sort of the one who shined through as a higher baseline than I would have expected. I actually have him the third best player in this field, only behind Corey Connors and then Rory McIlroy, a pretty clear number one. Unfortunately for him, it's just not a very good course fit. So I think that Henley is the perfect blend here of really solid baseline golfer and then also a pretty solid course fit. This course really rewards approach play, putting, and driving accuracy. Henley more accurate off the tee than he is long, an elite iron player. And while we would like him to be a better putter, we know that putting is super variant. So if there's one aspect that I want to target guys when they're still lacking, it's with the putter.
Yeah, I'm just seeing too, like some of the statistics, and I knew you were going to talk about Henley as well. But yeah, 26th in fairways hit, 9th in greens in regulation, and first in strokes gained approach the green, right? So yeah, the iron play is certainly strong when it comes to him. And yeah, you see on the board here, we got that 35-1. Oh baby. Also this from Bogey Free, which you and Brad DeCourty, you can catch that show, guys, for free on our FTN YouTube page right here. Am the Artist says he wishes he knew golf. Dude, hang out with these guys every Tuesday night, crack a couple pops and let them talk some golf, and you have some money in your pocket so you can blow it on your Carolina Hurricanes. I'm just kidding there. Am the Artist. Some other, I guess, long shots, I suppose. Are we going, like, it's Rory off the top, but there's maybe an opportunity for a couple more long shots. I mean, you mentioned Griffin on that board, but do you want to talk to me about Redmond?
Yeah, so I think there's a lot to kind of learn from the fact that both Doc and Lanto made my card here at the same number, because in my course fit expected strokes gain number, Lanto's at plus 0.67, so that's expecting him to gain 2/3 of a stroke per round here. Doc Redmond is all the way down at like 0.11, but it's a course that does benefit him from the sense that he's a great iron player, decent putter, and a really, really bad short game player, which isn't going to affect him here, or at least it shouldn't, because around the green play is so unpredictable here. So he really benefits from the course, and the fact that I like him at 150-1 speaks volumes to what an incredible price that is for Lanto. Like personally, I would have Lanto priced probably around 60 to 70, not 150. Wow. So like better than double the odds of what I think his true odds should be. Lanto is also one of the highest volatility players. Matt Jones, the third co-host of Bogey Free, has done an awesome job for FTN with his volatility report, basically measuring the volatility round to round of each golfer. And when you're looking at these cheaper guys, the long shots, you want volatility, because obviously volatility works in both directions. Yes, it makes him more likely to miss the cut and destroy one of your DraftKings lineups, but it also means that he has the ceiling to compete with the ceilings of the best players in the field. So when you're looking for win equity, you want that high volatility from these long shots. It speaks volumes to what an incredible price this is for Lanto. I have a 2-unit bet down on Lanto, not nearly that much on Doc Redmond, but I do still like the price for Doc. And I think what I really found this week in the outright market was that I just didn't want to touch the top of the board outside of Russell Henley. And I think we sort of saw the same pattern all around, but especially on DraftKings Sportsbook as we got later into the week, that the top guys are priced out for me, and then there's a lot of value on these cheaper guys.
Oh, so is that kind of your approach here when it comes to DraftKings? Like, I mean, the kind of a stars and scrubs approach, but not too many stars, but maybe some value on the board compared to other weeks?
Yeah, I think so. And actually, I mean, I was just talking about the outright market and DraftKings Sportsbook prices, but gotcha. on DraftKings itself, I think the number one guy for me, the value that I like the most, and who I probably won't go any cheaper than, is Adam Long at 7,400. And Adam Long sort of fits the same bill as Russell Henley. Like, he's been awesome of late because of how well he's driving the ball and how accurately he's driving the ball. And so that really has rapidly improved his baseline strokes gained projection. It's also a great course fit for him. He does two things exceptionally well: drives the ball straight and putts well. So a very good fit for this course fit model. And then sort of the opposite of Lonto, he is a really low volatility rating. So he kind of gives you the safety in a DraftKings lineup of having that high floor, having a really high probability of making the cut. Nobody's guaranteed. Like, even the best players in the field are probably only 80 to 90% to make the cut. So anyone can miss it. But I think Adam Long is as safe as you can get below $8,000 and maybe even below like $9,000 just to make the cut. So pairs really well with somebody like Lonto, who's going to be a significantly more contrarian option. So you get that high ceiling from a contrarian guy. I love that from Lonto. So I think that's going to be the way that I start my DraftKings lineups: Adam Long, Lonto, Griffin. And that sort of gives me the flexibility to do whatever I want throughout the rest of the lineup. I can eat the Russell Henley or Corey Connors chalk, both of whom project really well. I can differentiate up top a little bit more with someone like Tyrrell Hatton if I want to. I pretty much can pick and choose to build the rest of my lineup however I want, because I feel like that core of Adam Long and Lonto Griffin both gives me contrarian ceiling and a really nice expectation floor.
Nice. The Daily Handle's in the house. I don't know I'll put you on the spot, but he says he's looking forward to the PGA Championship in a couple weeks. What's that? May 19th? That's just a couple weeks away here, right? Have you taken a look yet? I know you guys are going to have a lot of coverage, of course, over at FTN and everything that you guys do over there. But have you taken a look yet? A peek? Maybe do you have a future that maybe you've laid a little bit of a coin on from a couple weeks ago? What do you think?
I do have a future. I have a future on Sam Burns, and nice. I can't remember exactly which one. It might have been the Hero World Challenge, one of those like sort of off-season events, small field, where in my hot takes article I put like, hey, let's get these bets down on Sam Burns for the futures, because as soon as he contends this week, which I thought he was going to do and he ended up doing, those prices are going to plummet. And so I think I got Sam Burns for the U.S. Open, the PGA Championship, and the Open Championship. And I forget exactly which odds I got for what, but I believe it was 80, 90, and 100
nice.
To 1. And yeah, those odds are all going to look very, very good.
Yeah, are they ever?
Major time. So hopefully he comes through there, because that'd be a nice little payday.
Big Sam Burns guy. Yeah, how could you not be? That's terrific. And again, one of the perks, I say it all the time, you have this betting package, you follow FTN alerts on the Twitter machine, you get notified right away when these guys are making the bets, and they are finding an edge, much quicker and easier. And especially when you see like DraftKings at 20-1. I know we went through some of the differences at other books, but check out ftnbets.com for the prop shop and the parlay calculator. Alex, hang on, we'll break. I got to talk to you about the Birds, and maybe you got a 76ers rant in you or something. Looking forward to that as well. So hang on, one more break, and we'll bring Blickle in here next. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back into Mean Streets here live on Game Plus Network, watching our FTN YouTube page. Those hanging out with us, we do appreciate you. If you have any comments, any questions, now is the time to get them in. We could revisit golf in just a little bit, but I do want to talk to you about the Birds over the weekend. I thought they had a pretty good draft, man. I thought, they were going to go after a wide receiver, and, they got one that is more ready to play now than anyone they would have drafted in the first round with A.J. Brown, the addition. I was shocked. I was actually floored, to be honest. We were doing the live show on Thursday, and it was kind of the wide receiver run. Jake Seeley hopped on, and then Hollywood Brown was traded to Arizona, and we were like, oh, that's cool. The NFL it's been an exciting offseason, and then boom, I just hear him say, oh shit. And I thought his computer, just something happened to his computer. It's like, what? And then Larky's like, oh my goodness. And then quickly look over to the left. It's like, wow, AJ Brown of the Philadelphia Eagles. What do you make of that move? How do you see him fitting in here? And also, what do you think of the Eagles draft?
So I'll start by saying it was really fun because I was watching your show with those guys, and it was cool because the whole time you were saying things like, I don't want to know what's going on. I want to know only when it shows up on the TV. And so I got the news 5 minutes earlier, and I'm just watching, waiting for you guys to finally get that and to see your reaction. So that was a really cool experience. I thought you guys did a fantastic job on that show.
Thank you.
Far more both entertaining and informative than the actual draft coverage on TV. I thought so.
I appreciate that.
It definitely is a new routine for me on draft day. And then as far as the Eagles are concerned, I could not be more thrilled. And it's almost sad because as excited as I am about the Eagles, then I've got Doc Rivers just ruining it on the other side for the Sixers. So it should be a more exciting time for Philadelphia fans than it is, unfortunately.
You tweeted Glenn Rivers, right? It's not Doc. It's just straight up Glenn Rivers. This guy is, he's ticking you off these days. But yeah, how do you think that AJ fits in? I appreciate the words, man. It was, I was happy with the show. George was a big part of the show, but it was, I thought it ran pretty smoothly, and we got a good addition in Josh Larkey as well. He's a numbers cruncher, and he did a really good job hanging out with me too. But yeah, so AJ Brown, George, you can bring this back up, just some of the numbers from last season. And, he was obviously a target hog in Tennessee, a team that really did run the ball, a lot last season as well. And of course, we know the Eagles, the best rushing team in football last year. So limited to 13 games, just over 100 targets. He had 5 touchdowns, just shy of 1,000 yards. He has been a beast over his short career here in the NFL. You see the ADOT 11.59. That's from our tools over at FTN Daily. Air yards tools. You got target share tools, all kinds of greatness over at ftndaily.com as well. 45% of his team's air yards and a 27% target share. Those two numbers probably seem unlikely. I don't know, him and Smith across from each other. You could do so much with Brown too. It opens up a little bit more of the run game. You can use him in some screens, some bubble screens, end arounds like that. That's part of his game as well. He could do a whole lot for you. But what if you're projecting targets ahead of Smith, right? He's probably the number one option ahead of Smith. I would say we both agree. It's close.
I'm with Larky in his opinion that the shares are probably going to be closer together than people might expect. And I think the biggest thing that AJ Brown does, number one, I think he really fits Jalen Hurts' skill set well, in the sense that he can win on the sidelines and then also can win just once he gets the ball in his hands. And so it's really dangerous to single cover him because if you allow the reception, there's only one guy who has a chance to make the tackle. And AJ Brown wins that matchup quite often, as we've seen. But then the second thing he does is he forces defenses to pay less attention to Devonta Smith, because that's something we certainly saw in the playoffs. It was too easy for teams to scheme out Devonta Smith and make Hurts beat them through the air to somebody else. And as great as Dallas Goedert is, I think Goddard will also really benefit from the added attention that AJ Brown is going to command. And, it's just a hell of a lot more difficult to contain 3 guys than 2 in the NFL.
Yeah, and think of Smith, too. A lot of the top coverage that he saw as a rookie, and he did a really good job as a rookie, too, but maybe some more single, right? I mean, the top corners, I don't know if he's going to be spending too much time on Smith when you got AJ there as well. So it's a good addition. And the artist is so hard on me today, saying that My Eagles still can't fly. I don't know what I did to. I must have given some bad NHL picks. We'd have some NHL picks in here next, but the 76ers mean tough to. It's a tough matchup. It's one that I think that they could win. I think that they can get by Miami, but of course, no Embiid is. I mean, it's really tough. What do you think you'll see from Philadelphia tonight? Do you think that they even up this series?
I think a lot of it depends on what Glenn Rivers does. I think if he continues to play DeAndre Jordan, I don't think the Sixers have much of a chance. I mean, we were talking about this on the NBA stream last night, Zach and I, Kawhisenberg DFS on Twitter. The Sixers had a net rating of like almost -70 with DeAndre Jordan on the floor, which is just absolutely atrocious.
Gross.
He had the team's lowest offensive rating and the team's highest defensive rating, and Rivers just kept going back to him. It was so incredibly frustrating, especially because in the end of the first half, the Sixers really made a run after Paul Reed's minutes, and then Paul Reed got into foul trouble. They just went small, and they continued to have the success that they were having with Paul Reed on the floor. And then in the second half, he didn't go back to that. Instead, he went to DeAndre Jordan as they continued to just get crushed on both ends. So if he's just going to be stubborn so that he doesn't have to admit that he was wrong in starting DeAndre and continuing to go back to him, then I don't think the Sixers have much chance at all.
Yeah, it really is all about coaching adjustments, especially this time of the season. But with no Embiid is tough. And again, am the artist. No Embiid, no wins. And he does like the Glenn Rivers call. Alex, man, you're fantastic. Always appreciate you taking the time to jump in here. And of course, to be able to talk Philly with you always puts a smile on my face as well. Go Birds. But also, check out the Hot Takes article is fantastic, dude. It really is.
Yeah.
It's one of our most read articles over at FTN. So check that out. And again, follow these guys. You mentioned Jones. You got DeCourty in there as well. Bogey Free. You can catch every Tuesday for free over at our FTN YouTube page right here if you're watching live. Am the artist. All right, we'll say goodbye to Alex Blickle 1 on the Twitter machine. We got some NHL picks, and we do have a couple NBA props and a free NBA bet for you as well. So don't go anywhere. Lots more to get to here on Mean Streets. Welcome back in, guys. Going to turn our attention over to the NHL. Probably won't be able to roll through all four of those matchups, George. You'd put some hard work in, and I do apologize for that, but we'll probably just get into some shot props and some point props in here. Am the Artist does want me to recap last night with the Panthers. Really got him upset. I know that Eric Young's a super sharp dude. He texts me, I'm completely wrong about this series. It's just one game. I know that I think he said on Dangle Batelli yesterday that he thought it was going to be a quick series. I totally disagreed. I was back and forth between 6 or 7. As much as the Panthers are the best team in the NHL, best team on home ice, number one in scoring, this is just a different beast, right? Maybe a little bit of nerves, potentially a little bit of a younger squad. Haven't really been here before. Like Barkov and Huberdeau, they've been there a little bit. But other guys, this is kind of the first taste for some of them when it comes to playoffs. Sam Reinhart's been in Buffalo for years, right? Like he's on a winning team now. I thought Sergei Bobrovsky played pretty good. But if you want me to nerd out a little bit, Am the Artist, will take care of this quickly, just taking a look at some of the 5-5 numbers. And I watched the entire game, and I thought Washington outplayed them. I thought the Capitals looked a little bit better than Florida, especially in the first period. But altogether, everything was pretty even from, a shot attempt standpoint. Florida 48-42 in favor of them. Shots on goal 26-25 in favor of Washington. Scoring chances 23-20 in favor of Washington. High danger chances 9-7 in favor of Washington. It's going to be a really tight series. For people that picked Florida, in 4, you're obviously not going to get it. In 5, I expected Washington to win at least 2 games in this series. Now, myself personally, I did take Florida to win in 6. I'm standing by that. I'm going to like them again tomorrow. I think that they're going to have a much stronger effort. And, it's only the 4th time that they played them. You'll see some adjustments, like looking at some of these numbers and looking at some of the lines. And I take a look at the 5-5 numbers just with the lines too. I want to see if teams make adjustments, and I am going to be looking at Florida and seeing what kind of adjustments that they make. And speaking of adjustments, I guess there is one board that you can chuck up, George, and it's Minnesota and St. Louis. I wanted to dive into this one a little bit more. I like the Bruins. I think the Bruins bounce back. I like the under in that game. I'm kind of leaning with the Leafs. I was very impressed with Toronto. I know you're going to get a much better effort here from Toronto, but I kind of like the Leafs to bounce back. I definitely like the Oilers to bounce back and the over in that game. But I like Minnesota as well here to bounce back in this contest. This was a game and a series that I talked a lot about and a tough one for me to call. But ultimately, I think what it comes down to, again, is the 5-5 play. I know that special teams is a difference maker in the playoffs. You got to have it to make on a deep run. Power play, penalty kill, you certainly have to have it. This is going to be a nasty series. There may be a lot of power plays on both sides. It was really rough. You got the Spurgeon nasty cross-check. That guy only got fined. Are you kidding me? Like, that was absolutely brutal. He should have gotten a game as well, just like Clifford from the Leafs. I think it was even worse. I mean, the intent to injure was certainly there, but it was nasty, and it is going to be nasty. But a few takeaways, 5-5 stuff. Again, this is huge for me. This is a key. I'm going to be right up in the daily article over at FTN Daily, an NHL DFS article, and I'm looking at some of these Minnesota players, and I take a look at just some of the numbers in Game 1. 44 shot attempts for Minnesota at 5-5, just 17 for the Blues. 23 shots for Minnie, 15 for the Blues. 18 scoring chances for Minnie, just 7 for the Blues. 12 high danger chances for Minnesota, and just 4 for St. Louis. St. Louis had 2 power play goals. If they're going to get 5 or 6 power plays again here tonight, then maybe they do take Game 2 as well. Special teams is really good for St. Louis. They're not the strongest 5-5 team. So I am going to lean with Minnesota. I think we could see some goals again in that game, but I'm going to lean with Minnesota. But this is what I'm thinking from a shot prop standpoint here tonight, and I am leading with Adrian Kempe. Adrian Kempe is my guy. He's been our guy for a couple months here. He's cleared 2.5 shots in 10 of his last 12. He had 9 shot attempts, a team-high 9 shot attempts for the Kings in Game 1, and he had 6 shots on goal, the most out of anybody in that contest. So I'm going right back to Adrian Kempe. I really like his game. And in his last 3 against the Oilers, 7 shots, 5 shots, and 6 shots. Of course, the 6 came in Game 1. And the 5 and the 7 came about a month ago. So not like it was, in October. Kempe's been really playing good hockey lately. David Pastrnak, I know that Am the Artist, you mentioned 10 shots and, no goals. He did have it was the 10 shot attempts that Pasta had in that game. And I think you're okay with, your initial instinct when it comes to shot attempts from this game or shots on goal with Sebastian Aho and maybe getting Patrice Bergeron in there. But 10 shot attempts is really hard to ignore from David Pastrnak. This is what he does. This is what he did last year in the playoffs. This is what he does in the playoffs. He just loves to shoot the puck. So 10 shot attempts, 5 shots on goal. A majority of those came at even strength too, which is something that I really do like. Of course, when you get a power play, Kaprizov, he didn't have 1 shot attempt at 5-5 in that game, and he ended up, I think, with 5 or 6 shots. they all were on the power play. Pasternak had 9 shot attempts and 5 shots on goal at 5-5. So it's not just him on the power play ripping clappers. It's him at 5-5. I thought it was a mismatch. I thought that second line played really good with Haula and Hall and Pasternak in there. So the over 3.5. Kempe really has been a wagon, man. He's been great to us. Andrei Svechnikov is where I'm leaning for Carolina. I think Aho is fine. You're getting a slightly better price for Sebastian Aho. They both had 6 shot attempts. Aho had 4 and Svechnikov had 3, but Svechnikov led all Carolina players with 5 shot attempts at 5-5 and 3 shots on goal. And then there's David Perron is my plus money play. Just a little bit of a value play there for you. David Perron, a bunch of his shot attempts did come on the power play, which kind of goes against what I said about David Pasternak, but he did have 8 overall and 6 shots on goal, and he is on that number 1 power play unit, and this is another guy who's not afraid to shoot the puck. We only got about 40 seconds here before we break and finish off with NBA, but I got some point props for you as well. I don't know if you have the ones from yesterday handy that we can show after this one, George, but Austin Matthews plus 120 had a 3-point night there. I just think there's a lot of value for some of these players for assists, and maybe more so to grab assists than to grab the shots. Yes, 4.5 for Matthews. He probably has 5 or 6 shots again. Evander Kane, I like his shot prop at 3.5 plus money. I also like Leon Draisaitl, 3.5 plus money. Both of those guys combined for 18 shot attempts and 5 shots. They had 9 shot attempts each and 5 shots on goal each. But Kane playing with, on that top power play and playing with Connor McDavid at plus 170, there's some real value there. And we're going to be eating pasta tonight, the artist. Whether your Hurricanes win or not, we're taking the over on shots, and we're getting a goal from David Pasternak tonight. So I'm all in on the Bruins this evening. David Pasternak's my guy. But yesterday, just quickly, plus money for, there it is. Look at this. We went 4 for 6, but look at the value. Landeskog plus 160. McKinnon's not on this board. He was plus 110 for an assist yesterday. Nichushkin's not on this board for an assist. He had an assist at plus 150 as well. So there's a lot of value when it comes to assist props and certainly some point props as well. We had a goal from Bennett last night. We didn't get the 3 shots. We had a goal from Kopp. Had the assist from Nichushkin. Hanifin didn't do too much. Man, Calgary really just didn't allow much for Dallas. They won 1-0. But Landeskog, look at the value for Landeskog. And the Avs scored 7 last night. It's not going to be plus 160 tomorrow, but I'll tell you what, it'll probably be around plus 115, plus 120. That's really good value for a team that's going to score a lot of goals in the first round of the series. All right, quick break, and we got the free NBA bet of the day to round out Mean Streets. Don't go anywhere. Look, guys, I'm not a big Boston Bruins fan either, believe it or not. Shout out Andrew Reed. He knows. I can't really stand the Bees. But the Hurricanes, I mean, I don't have any bad blood with them either. Like, neither of these teams really excite me too much, but big pass tonight. Am the artist. All right, here's your free NBA bet of the day, courtesy of FTN. It's Dorian Finney-Smith over 5.5 rebounds at plus 125. He did clear this in game 1 against the Suns. He had 6 boards. He had 10 boards in game 6 against Utah. He has cleared 5.5 in 1, 2, 3, 4 of his past 6 games. You know, I guess the one thing going for Dorian Finney-Smith, I mean, he can certainly knock down a tray, is the minutes. The minutes have been there for him throughout the entire playoffs. You know, of course, the first couple games, no Luka, 44-42, 43 in game 3, 40-41, 46 to wrap up the series against Utah, and then 40 minutes in game 1. I'll give you one. Max Kleber, over 1.5 threes. He was 5 for 8 from beyond the arc in game 1. He's getting a little bit more playing time. He's averaging 3 threes per game in 7 games here in the postseason. And again, 5 for 8 from beyond the arc. He's a really good 3-point shooter. And when Luka's on the floor, man, the way that he drives the net and he just kicks it out, dude's got wide open threes all the time. So I think Kleber will take another 5 or 6 from beyond the arc, and we only need him to make 2. Thanks for taking the time to hang out here today, guys. Have a great Wednesday night. We'll be back tomorrow. Cheers.